Well, all right. How's everyone tonight? Bob is back. Happy New Year's to everybody out there. 2025. What's it going to bring us politically here in Canada? And how's it going to affect the biker community? Well, let's think about it for a while, shall we? So, we already know that the leadership we have in Canada right now, it's on its way out the door. Most Canadians, including myself, are saying thank you now. The way it's looking politically for the Liberals is I think Justin's going to step down. Now he's got everybody on the East Coast in his own party asking him to step down. So he'll step down. Now the Quebec Liberal Caucus is asking him to step down, and the Atlantic Caucus asked him to step down, and so is the Ontario Caucus. So pretty much everyone in his own party has asked him to step down. Now again, I think there's a couple issues with him stepping down. Do they prorogue Parliament? Which I think means kind of put it on hold. Will they have a leadership convention? Because they're going to have a new leader before the new election gets called. And the PCs, of course, are trying to get a no confidence vote through. And I don't know why that isn't going through, because nobody in Canada has any confidence in this guy anymore. And again, COVID messed up everything along the way. But, a lot of people are unhappy with how we dealt with COVID. I guess you can't force people to take a medicine that they don't want to. If you don't want to, you don't want to. It's kind of, common sense stuff right there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always going back to, there's so much more to think about in 2025. Like how the year started down in the States, they had that guy, he drove his rented vehicle into a bunch of people down on Bourbon Street. We've had our version of that in Toronto a few years back, with a guy taking his rented vehicle down the sidewalk on Yonge Street. And, obviously, it's not going to have good results, especially if you're one of those people who's just innocently walking down the street. And next thing you know, there's a vehicle barreling at you, or even worse, hit you from behind, whatever, right? So, is the world going to get violent? It might. I still think we've got a lot to worry about overseas with China and Russia and NORAD. Now they've got China and Russia doing air exercises over the Arctic together. And who do they run into first up there? It'll be us. So that's not a good thing. Again, thankfully we've got NORAD up there. And thankfully we've got, we do a joint thing in the Arctic with America with fighter planes and stuff. But like I say, is it going to get more violent out there? It just might. It just might, like on a world stage, it just might. Pretty stupid time for the government to take all the hunters' guns and the farmers' guns away from them. They already had handguns, banned basically. They're basically banned in this country. I know they're not 100% banned, and some people get special permits, but for all intents and purposes, they're banned. And we were down to just people with long guns and shotguns and hunting rifles, and apparently most of them have got banned now too. Now, when the election happens, there's no question that it's not going to go NDP. It's definitely not going to go back to Liberal. They're going to change their leadership and hope that they get enough seats to remain an official party. Because I do recall something like this happening in the other direction, and they lost their official party status for a year or two until there's another by-election and whatever, right? So let's say Poilievre wins, because he's going to win. So what's he going to do? And I've been trying to research our Bank of Canada. So the Bank of Canada, it's a crown corporation. So the federal government owns it. But the federal government does not tell it what to do, which is very strange. So again, I keep going back to we need to we need to get the interest rates back down to where borrowing large amounts of money was basically free, low interest rates, get the trades back to work. We're going to have to bite our lip on the inflation. You can't have one without the other. So if you're going to have low interest rates, you're going to have high inflation. We're still living through inflation. Even though they keep coming up with this, the inflation rates have dropped, etc. It's still inflation. So although things are allegedly getting better, I haven't seen it getting any better. I'd rather be out there working all the time, constantly, because all the builders are building, and therefore all the tradesmen are needed, and pay a little bit more at the grocery because we're already paying more at the grocery. So it's kind of an around and around in a circle thing, right? I think there could be some issues between our country and Trump. And there's, and then there's issues that nobody ever talks about, homelessness and the ongoing and ever-going drug crisis, and opioid crisis, and fentanyl, and all those different things that are getting into our country and destroying a generation, more or less. And nobody ever talks about them on the political stage. So I'd like to hear some sort of government figure, especially who's running for this next election, explain to us what their plan is. So we got a housing crisis. We got all these people that are trained, ready to work, and then they increase the interest rate, and everyone stops building. So we still have a housing crisis. So what do they do to fix the housing crisis? They stop how many student visas they allow. And now the universities and colleges that depended on those foreign students, now they have less money. So everything's kind of going around in circles with no real solutions or anything in sight. It was enough to drive anyone kind of crazy. So let's get the right in. Let's give them their chance. As far as it goes, none of these parties actually destroys our country. Although I'll gladly admit that the Liberals have done the most damage recently than I can recall. I've been following the news since I was a teenager. I was one of them guys, always liked the news, always wanted to watch the news, always wanted to feel up to date. And that carried on into my motorcycle club years. And, back, like you say, in the club years, it was vote for the Liberals because they have the most lenient jail penalties, right? So if you're in that kind of world back in those days, it wasn't because of the club. Don't get me wrong. Don't align what I'm saying is with the club is a criminal thing. It's not. It was my choice. It's how I chose to make money, paid my price for it, did my time, did my thing, got a pardon, it's over. But anyways, I don't think people are looking at it that way anymore. So give the right their chance. Let's see what he does. He's going to cut the carbon tax. That'll be good in the short term. And we'll see if any prices come down as a result of that. We know it's always easy for prices to go up in Canada, but you never see them when the circumstances are different come back down in Canada. It's one of those things. It never goes back down. Same with taxes. I find it hard to believe that he's going to eliminate a tax. Federal income tax is supposed to be a short-term solution back in the World War II days, and here we are still paying, right? And those are the biggest ways that they're going to start to level out our economy is, these big businesses, and I understand how it goes. So they have to give these big businesses all these tax breaks to attract them to set up, say, a factory in Alveston to assemble Hondas, right? So Honda got all sorts of incentives to come and set up a factory in a part of Ontario that really didn't have any big employers. So they did it, and now we're stuck. We have to honor what the government promised them. So the government promised them this many years of low taxes and this many years of interest-free loans, or whatever the deal was. It has to be honored. So now these companies, it seems like they all get these big deals set up before they open some sort of factory or assembly plant, or whatever the case may be. There's been a bunch of food plants open and built down in my areas, Ontario, and stuff like that. And they're not paying their fair share of the tax. But that was the deal that we made to get them there. So it's another one of those things. Everything keeps going around in circles. It's like watching that circle go around on your computer screen. You're waiting for the video to start. Like, what's going on? So I don't know. We're going to have to give their chance and see if they can sort this out. Now we've got other stuff going on. We've got the Chinese government is setting up police stations inside of our country to come and get back people who left that country and moved here. Now we've got India fighting with us, saying that a lot of the student visas were some sort of human trafficking thing. I don't really understand what that claim is, but let's face it, a lot of those people from India come over here and they're coming from some sort of crazy caste system that I don't entirely understand, but it's where your family's stationed in life when you're born is basically where you're going to be stationed in life. So a lot of these guys come out of that country over to Canada, and now all of a sudden you can be, as far as your ambitions and your talents can take you, that's how far you can go. So now India's fighting about that with us. They sent over hitmen to all sorts of crazy stuff. So, and it, from what I've been reading, it seems like, this stuff is kind of going on. So we've got all that. We've got cyber crimes and cyber attacks coming our way. A bunch of hospitals and stuff were taken for ransom, cyberware ransom over the last couple of years. I think that's going to pick up. We've got to worry about the 25% trade tariffs that Trump has promised against Canada. So that's going to be interesting because that'll cripple our economy. Again, I don't personally think he'll do it, but hey, who knows? Crazier things have happened. We've got a natural gas pipeline that's taken 100 years to get built through those mountains and get over to the West Coast. We've got more natural gas under the ground in the northern parts of our provinces than we'll ever need. So why don't we export it and get some money out of it? You know what the problem is there? It's going to be a company that gets the money out of it and not the Canadian economy. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're going to have a higher GDP, and there will be some tax breaks involved and some tax revenue involved for the Canadian government. But will it be enough to get us kind of out of we're kind of in a weird spot where you can get work and keep working enough to keep your mind focused on paying the next mortgage bill and going to the grocery store and putting gas in your car and all that stuff, and keep you not focused on what the hell's going on in our country, right? So let's see what the next election's still got to be called yet. I think the first step will be Trudeau stepping down, hopefully before January rolls out. Before we're done with January, hopefully Trudeau's gone. Then the Liberals can pick their new leader, and then they can get on with the general election. And there's so many other things to get into, how they treat the natives in our country, how they treat minorities from other countries in our country. Lots and lots of stuff to touch on. And us in the biker world, all we want to do is have enough money to have a motorcycle in our garage and gas in that motorcycle's tank. But we can't do that. They're making it harder and harder for us to do that. So let's see how 2025 rolls in. And my condolences to everybody down there in New Orleans. That was another horrible thing. You can say, oh, it's a tragedy. It's just a horrible thing. People doing strange things. And mass casualties, mass amount of deaths for no reason that anyone else can figure out. But anyways, let's see how 25 treats us. I just want to get back on two wheels. That's where I want to be. And don't forget this weekend, Motorcycle Super Shows down in Mississauga. Come check it out. I'm going to try to be there. I'm going to try to do a live from it if I can. I'll see if I can get my phone to cooperate. And that's it for the political commentary for this week. And like I say, let's see where 2025 gets us. It's got to get us at least an election and see where we go from there. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. That's what I got tonight. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Good night.